Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and it's 12 o'clock noon on a Friday. And what does that mean? Friday Fish and Chips, where we go for a walk and a talk. In this video, I'm going to cover a few different things, but the biggest thing I want to cover here is something I call step laddering. Let's watch the intro, and I'll tell you more about it. Okay, welcome back. I'm heading on over to the local restaurant to get myself a nice fish and chips, because that's what I do every Friday at noontime. And, I wanted to say something about that clock. Somebody gave me that clock. I put it on the piano with the samurai sword, but I'm going to take it down because it gets in the way. But I don't know what that clock is or where it came from. Somebody found it in a thrift store, and it's broken. It isn't working right, so I have to fix it. Like, you can hear the gong is kind of very weak. It needs something, but I love it. It is so I don't know, there's something just wonderful in a broken down old clock like that, just hanging in there and working and trying to keep time correctly, and it's just giving off that almost a sickly kind of a gong. I can fix that, but when I get the time. And I'm enjoying, I'm rustling up different clocks here for this video. I'm enjoying. I don't know if you've noticed, if you watch all of these videos. I don't know if you noticed, but every week I use a different clock for the video, and I get some more. Right now I have 3 more. So no, let me think. I have 2 more clocks I can use, and then I'm gonna have to start scrounging up clocks from people just so I can just do a different 12 o'clock every Friday. It'll be fun. All right, I wanted to talk about in this video a concept called step laddering, and I'll give you a little bit of background on it and what it. And I'll tell you a little about what I think it means, and it's a little bit of a strange thing that I think about sometimes, and I actually try to use in my life and in my work and in my business here. Let me see how I can do the progenesis, how I can do a genesis of this. Years and years ago, I had this thing in my head, and it was I didn't complete it, I didn't finish it. This is it must have been I don't know, bordering on 8 or 10 years ago that I had this thought in my mind where let me think, how did I start? I was walking down the street, true story. I was walking down the street and I found a penny. And I actually, if I remember correctly, it's been so long, I was doing something similar to what I'm doing right now. I had my camera, so I reached down, I reached down and I took a picture of my hand. I think, if this is right, my hand picking up the penny. Just for fun, and I don't know why. And then I started thinking about it, and I had that penny in my pocket. And I said, gee, I wonder if I could somehow turn this into 2 pennies. So, and then that started me on this whole chain, this whole step ladder of things. So I started a website, and I don't even know if it's still up. I haven't checked on it in years. It might be down, called The Penny Quest. And my thought was, I'm going to take this penny, and I'm going to transform it into $1 million somehow. Just with wit and wile. You know what I mean? And it wasn't so much the $1 million that it was the goal. It just was the fun of the trying to figure out how to transform it. And I said, gee, there's about a zillion things you can do to step ladder your way up from a penny to $1 million. So I spent some time on it, and it ended up eventually kind of falling to the wayside, which I feel regret for that. I should have kept at it, because isn't that a fun story? Where did I end up? I forget, but I went to a flea market or a yard sale with the penny, and I bought something, and then I turned around, I even forget what it was, and then I turned around and sold that for you can't quote me on the numbers, but a quarter. And then I used that quarter to buy something, and then I sold that thing for $1. So eventually I got a little ways with it, but you can see how it would get, I don't know, either would it get easier or would it get harder? I'm not sure. As you get more money, as the purse grows, would the task become easier or would the task become hard, more difficult? I'm not sure. Because you say, oh, well, what the heck can you buy with a penny? That's hard, right? What can you buy and make a profit? But then you could say the same thing. What do you buy for $100,000? I guess a house, maybe, a high-end sports car, and then turn around and sell for a profit, you know? And our system is kind of set up to make that difficult because of competition. But so anyway, so that's kind of an early example of the process of step laddering. And I wanted to talk about step laddering and creativity because I just edited a video, a creativity video that I'll be posting next Wednesday. It's on what happened and how the creative process occurred when I made the Ponce de Leon diorama. And it got me thinking about a lot more, again, about step laddering. So in creativity, you get this, I tend to follow this process, this step ladder process to like, I guess the right word would be to manifest a project. And it starts out, and let me show you those steps. It starts out with just this thought. You're sitting down, you're watching, or you're reading, and it happens to be a lot when I'm reading. I have to take notes because it often kicks off ideas. Or when you're laying in bed and your mind is clear and you're just thinking about stuff, you know. So you get this small kernel of an idea, and then what happens? You write some things down about it. So you take this small step where it goes from a thought in your head to written words. And out of that comes more written words, and you maybe write some more ideas. You write a story, you write some thoughts, you write a process, or you develop it further. And then from there, and generally, this is my process, then generally I start to do sketches. So now I'm drawing pictures of whatever. You know, the project, the idea, the thought, the thing, the story. And then, you know, and it's funny because then the next step on that ladder, it starts to bring things into a deeper reality, like not a deeper reality, but a more concrete. You know, it just seems to me it's the strangest thing. It's almost as if that process follows the layers of your brain, like, you know, from the earliest brain to the forefront, from the core of your brain further and further out to the most recent layers of your brain. You know, it's the weirdest thing. So we go from a thought to abstract writing, where the thought is now a little more physical and developed further with words. And then we go from that to the visual language, where now the thought or the idea becomes more concrete in terms of you have drawn out pictures of it, right? And then you go from there to, like in the case of making a project, making the thing. So now you have an actual real item that started as a thought or an idea. And I'm fascinated by that process. And sometimes I think, is it possible to work that process backwards? And this is what I mean. Can you start with the goal, right? In the case of the Penny Quest, you start with the goal of $1 million in the case of that, and then step ladder your way, start from the beginning and step ladder your way to figure out what you need to do, the steps you need to do to make that goal a reality. And I'll tell you very specifically what my thought is a castle. I have this thing in my head that I really want a castle. I want to build or buy and renovate a castle. And I watch some stuff. There's some different YouTube channels about guys building a castle, and there's this one particular one of this Australian guy who is renovating. It's more like a French chateau, but it's in France, and it's almost a castle. And I just think that's just remarkable. So I say to myself, is it a good process for me if I want to let's take the goal of build a castle, you know, and that's the end goal. That's the top of the step ladder. And then I say, how do I make this a reality in my life? Can I start step laddering it? So in other words, now I have the idea. So I think more about the idea, and then I start doing drawings. Words would be the next logical step. Start writing out words about the castle. And they can be in two different ways. Describing the castle, talking about writing down ideas about how I can make the castle, what I need to do to make the castle, what do I need to get, what people do I need to bring onto the task to make a castle, right? Isn't that wonderful? And then from there, I would go on and start doing drawings of the castle to further bring it into a reality. I draw every angle of the castle, overhead view of the castle, interior of the castle, exterior, a visual description. And then from there, and I get this feeling that there's steps missing in between here that I'm not aware of. But then from there, I would logically start to actually make the castle, And wouldn't that be, in my mind, that'd just be wonderful. It says, how do I make that happen? It's the weirdest thing because several years back, there's this small castle in a city called Newport, Rhode Island, and it was for sale. And there was a real estate listing for it and a video for it, and so for some reason, that castle just connected with me. It was the story of the castle, who built it and why, and the history of it, and the renovations it went through, because people that since had owned it since its building, and the original owner passed away, had really done a beautiful job modernizing the inside of it. And I set myself a goal to buy that castle. It was $7 million. And before I could make that happen, somebody else bought it. And I was crushed. I just had this feeling that place was the right place for me, Isn't that, I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but I just felt that place was the place for me. And I was crushed when somebody else bought it before I could make it happen. So now I'm stuck with is probably the wrong term, building my own castle. See, and there you have control. I'm no longer at the whims of the real estate market. I don't have to worry about somebody else beating me to it. I can build it the way I want. So, and as far as dreaming big goes, let me talk about that first. Before this video is almost done. It's a quick video. It's only like 14 minutes. But, I say, if you want to achieve something in your life, it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It doesn't have to be a thingle where you own something. It can to be a certain kind of person, to do a thing, to achieve something, to gain a skill, something like that. You break it down into ladder steps. Each step a little bit more concrete than the previous. And you might be surprised at how you get there, at how you can get there, at how you will get there. So I am, and I continue to and have been, working on how do I get my own castle. After all, there's a certain, you probably know I am absolutely fascinated by castles. So that's it. A short Friday fish and chips, a little bit of an unusual one, but aren't they all? Thanks for listening. Got a lot more stuff coming.